on, you rogues, rebels, and renegades? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Rogue Country Podcast, episode 66. Today we have the brilliant James Hodder, but let's get down to some business first. We have updated the Rogue Country Bandcamp store with some brand new t-shirts and some brand new mugs, which makes it the perfect time to hear from our sponsor, Pick Print Screen Printing. Today we are brought to you by Pick Print Screen Printing. They're a Liverpool-based family-run hand screen printing company, and I love these guys. They do my t-shirts, they do the Rogue Country t-shirts, they do Josh Bettis' t-shirts. So if you need band merch, workwear, business uniforms, club or sports team wears, or apparel lines, please get in touch with them. They use eco-friendly inks. It's all done by hand, and they're just an incredible company to work with. I love them, and you should go support them. Go check them out for all your merch needs, and let's plug some incredible Rogue Country shows. This podcast airs on the 17th of April, and you know what that means? On the 22nd of April, Luke Hendrickson begins his first ever UK tour, and we need you rogues to show up. From April 22nd to April 30th, Luke is hitting a lot of dates across the UK. We're in Wallasey, Bradford, Northwich, Birkenhead, Sheffield, Newark, Rossendale, Bracken, and London. Head over to the Rogue Country websites to find out more information and get your tickets. We have also had the absolute pleasure of bringing Jesse Daniel over for August. On the 14th, he's in London. That show is now sold out. You cannot get tickets for it, but don't worry. On the 15th, he's in Swansea, and on the 16th, he's in Birkenhead. That's right, folks. The Jesse Daniel is coming over to the UK for his first ever tour, and Rogue Country are putting it on in August 14th, 15th, and 16th. Do not miss out. But let's not make it all about us. Let's share the Rogue love. Do you know the Rustic Stomp Roots Festival? You better do. It's in Organford, Dorset on the 14th, 15th, and 16th of July. The lineup is incredible. This is truly the best independent country and roots festival around. Heathen Apostles are playing. Frank from Blue Velvet, Sarah Vista, the Care Sons, Hans DeVille, Josh Bettis, Mark J. Lee, Ash Harding. There is so many incredible artists playing this that you do not want to miss out on this. And if that's not all, guess who else is coming to UK shores? Pat Reedy, the Pat Reedy, absolutely incredible artist. If you've not listened to him, check him out. He is coming over to UK in May and June. Head over to his website. He is putting in the time, putting in the hours, and you do not want to miss any of these shows. He's playing with Alex Connolly, he's playing with Mark J. Lee, he's playing with Chris Dover, and it's going to be an incredible tour, and you do not want to miss it, so check that out at Pat Reedy's socials. There is so much incredible country and roots music coming to the UK that we are simply overwhelmed, and it is an incredible thing to see. Thank you so much to all these artists and promoters and venues who are making this happen, and if you are listening to this, I urge you to get to the nearest country show you can. Support them best you can, because without the audience there, this scene cannot thrive and it cannot grow. You are the lifeblood of it, and we salute you every time you buy a ticket. Let's get down to today's guest. James Hodder has just released Wilderness Road. Phenomenal record. James has been on my radar for quite some time, and we get into it in this podcast. His voice is smooth as fuck. You do not want to sleep on this guy. So, yeah, let's get down to it, guys. This is episode 66 of the Rogue Country Podcast with Mike West and James Hodder. Sweet. So we're rolling now. Wilderness Roads just dropped. How's the reaction? How have you felt it's been so far with it hitting people's ears?
I've been really bowled over by the reaction to it personally, because the last album, In the Beginning, came out 6 years ago. It was recorded 7 years ago, and in the meantime I've been writing songs still and gigging, but it's been a lot of opening sets, acoustic, solo, and just finding the right opportunity. Obviously there's been reasons everyone will appreciate why why things have slowed down, but then just me personally, I've had a couple of children and all this kind of stuff, so it was just about finding the right time and getting everyone back together again. And I'm just to bring music out now after that gap, and it's been lots of people checking it out on Bandcamp and getting CD copies, digital, everything. It's been really great, and the feedback you get from people about the songs and stuff, it's great.
Yeah, and with obviously that kind of 7 year gap and having kids, did that influence the writing of this? Because obviously Wilderness Road you'll have been writing for a while. Did that kind of life experience in that time between influence those songs?
It it probably didn't influence the kind of source material like what I'm
Mm,
singing about. There are no kind of songs on there about particularly like having a family or things. But the funny thing, I guess, is that the album is about. I guess a lot of the songs are about change
mm,
and about kind of um, making your way through things. Like Wilderness Road is actually a road that is near where I live, and
mm.
I would pass it, and I just thought that's a great title. I can use that as a, you know, a metaphor or something
Mm,
for, you know, trying to find your way back. And that was the that that became like one of the first songs to be written. It was written really soon after the thing, and I thought at the time I just had my first, you know, child, and I thought, oh, you know, I feel so old. I'm so young. I'm so tired, and no, you know, and that was where the kind of inspiration was for kind of thinking that, you know, it's good to embrace change and find your way through things when it's difficult.
yeah. No, totally. Like I've got a kid coming in June and it's my first
Oh,
one. Thanks so
congratulations!
much. But it is one of those things where, change is inevitable in like everyone's life. But it's one of those things that you just, it is inevitable. You have to embrace it because the world will always
Absolutely.
keep spinning.
Yeah, and but you know what it did do was that it made me more disciplined, like
Mm,
to actually get the stuff down because, you know, for a long period of time, um, you know, I was free to write and to go out and gig whenever I wanted or do
mm,
whatever I wanted, to record whenever I wanted. And you find when you've obviously it's just a human thing, isn't it? You've got too many options. You don't actually sit
yeah.
down and do things. But now I was finding things like, okay, you know, my son's taking a nap. I've got 1 hour. So, you know, you use it wisely. You sit down and you write a song, or get something down that you can use for later. And you know, so it does make you appreciate when you do have that free time to do
Mm.
things. And it actually, even though you think, oh, I'm not going to have any time, you just use the time you do have better, I reckon.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm taking like 3 or 4 months off, but I've been pretty
Mm.
picky with gigs and things in the last like few years anyway. But I think like once you have that kind of responsibility, like, well, I could be at home, being a dad right now, and
Yeah.
it has to be worth the time to like go out and actually gig and do those things, and you get a bit more selective about what you're going to play and how you're going to play.
Yeah, definitely. You have to put others first. And, you know, most of my gigs really in the last sort of few years have been in and around the London area.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of things, but not much around the UK at the moment. But then I'm getting to a stage now where they're a bit older, we're a bit more in a new routine, and I'm hoping that yeah, I can get out and do a bit more, which will be good.
Cool. And what's kind of, because you're based down in Kent?
Yeah, I'm in sort of Bromley, so I'm sort of like Greater London, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, like the borders of Kent. Yeah,
Cool. And what's the kind of, because I know a bit of kind of the southwest with Rustic Stomp and things, and
yeah.
obviously London's London, so I know a bit about the scene and the movers and shakers. But from your experience being part of it, what have you kind of seen in the last like 6 or 7 years of the London scene, especially in the Americana and countryside of things?
Well, it's been an interesting time really because there are you know, some really good things in and around this kind of southeast area. And in the last few years, we've had the Black Deer
Yeah.
Festival sprung up, which is a really fantastic festival. I'm going along this year just for the Saturday, taking the family and things to see. You know, I know Bonnie Raitt's playing that day, and oh, it's just gonna be amazing. But
Yeah.
that's a great thing. You know, it's literally, you know, about 40 minutes or so
Oh
drive from
yeah.
my house. This great big festival, yeah, you know, and it's that will be amazing. And then there are other things like there are lots of people doing kind of gigs and promoting gigs. There's my friends Martin and Marion who run Black Cat
Mm.
music, and they've been really great to me over the last few years, and they're constantly putting on these amazing gigs in and around the London area. Um, then there's another one is Icarus Club. I don't know if you've heard
Mm.
of the Icarus Club,
No.
but it was like this guy. You know, it started a long time ago, I think, but you know that they kind of showcase like songwriters and acoustic type stuff, and they've been doing it in lots of different pubs in and around the southeast and stuff, and that's kind of recently started up again. So I'm going to be playing something with them in like the May sort of period. So there are a few things. I'd say like there a lot of venues are kind of in the London area really, and there'll be places that everyone knows, like the Green Note,
Yeah.
Slaughtered Lamb, places around that. So yeah.
Cool, because I know you're seeing Mike and the Moonpies on. Is it Sunday they're playing?
I'm going to see them Sunday. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't wait. Yeah,
it's going to be so good. I can't wait to see them on this tour.
I've had a ticket for like 2 years,
Yeah.
so yeah, definitely it's been one I've been looking forward to.
Yeah. But going back to obviously Wilderness Road before then, and in the beginning 2017, take it all the way back. What was it that kind of inspired you to pick up a guitar? What did you grow up listening to?
I was very much drawn to like playing electric guitar, and that's how I started. So 10 years old, I got an electric guitar, and the sort of stuff that I'm doing now, I would probably have found completely boring and rubbish. I basically just wanted to be in a band like Guns N' Roses or Aerosmith or something like that. I didn't really want to do anything else, and I had no interest in writing songs at all. The first thing was to just want to play guitar, probably guitar solos, specifically at that age. So that's where I started, and it wasn't until maybe in my late teens maybe, that I started playing acoustic more and performing more with acoustic, because there weren't many people really in my, there was a couple of people played drums and stuff at school, but there wasn't many that I sort of clicked with and had a band or anything. So that was quite frustrating. But yeah, I mean, it was funny. I was listening to your podcast. Was it with Laid Back Country Picker? You're talking about the Alice Cooper gigs and stuff, and that I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan. I think he's amazing. So I'd still listen to all that, and he's great. And it was people like that. But it was funny. One of the first things that I think like the last straw was when I watched this movie, Crossroads, which is not the Britney Spears movie, if anyone is listening and thinking that I'm talking about that. But there's a great Walter Hill movie called Crossroads, which is it's got Ralph Macchio, isn't it, the Karate Kid, and he's like playing guitar in it. And the soundtrack's by Ry Cooder, and I love Ry Cooder as well. Like now, I'm a really huge fan of him. So listening to the slide guitar work and the blues playing in that really, really influenced me. And I think the first performance I ever did was maybe at 10 or 11, and I had the electric guitar, and I did a version of Feeling Bad Blues by Ry Cooder for, I think I was a Cub Scout, right? I performed it at this Cub Scout event, but I was so naive. Like, I didn't know that he was, anything about bottlenecks or anything. So I was literally just playing notes on the electric, and I didn't even have an amp. I was playing it out of a like a computer speaker or something that I'd rigged it up to. So it was really, it's a bit C6 Steve, I guess, before before he was doing it there. But hey, that's the sort of thing I was listening to.
And what was your first electric guitar? Was it a Squire Strat job or?
Oh no, it was like an Encore. Right. It's actually billed as a beginner's electric guitar. It's like 3/4 size. I saw one on like Facebook the other day. It came up like someone was selling one for like 20 quid, and I was thinking, oh, nostalgia, maybe I'd go and buy one. But yeah, it was like jet black. It had one humbucker in it, and it was perfect for learning on. It's just what you need. I had it for a good 2 years or so, 2-3 years before I got anything else.
Yeah, it's weird with those type of guitars, because the first one I ever got, and I've still got it, was like a 20 quid nylon stringed acoustic guitar from Argos. That is
mine was from Argos.
It's an utter piece of shit, but it's just amazing. And I've picked up like I know people have like Martins and Gibsons and shit, and I've played them, but nothing ever gives you the first feeling of that shitty guitar in your hands when you're younger. And it's like maybe £5 worth of materials all bolted together, but those beginner guitars are so magical.
They are, but the thing is, as long as it's like something you can get to grips with and learn the basics, that's the most important thing, isn't it? Because like people often say to me like, oh, what should I buy guitar wise? And I always think, you should just buy something that makes you feel comfortable, but don't worry about the name
Yeah.
particularly or the price tag. If it's your first guitar, just get something that you can learn on, because they always say, don't they, that so much of it is your actual technique, is how you're
Mm.
playing it. And I've had friends who, when I was growing up, would like, there was one guy at my school, and he would have a new electric guitar every 6 months, and he was performing, with it, and he went through everything from tellies to Strats to Les Pauls, and but he never really learned to play one of them particularly
Mm.
well.
Yeah.
He always did the same thing on it, and I thought, well, why have you got so many guitars? Just um, try and learn a bit more on it.
Yeah. No, it's a weird one. Like I've got my main two are Epiphones, and it's one of those things where I wouldn't want to fancy Gibson or a Martin that costs the same as the house, because if you lose it or you chip it or dent it or someone
Yeah.
spills a pint on it, it's way.
No, and there are great things. Yeah, exactly. Especially like when I'm gigging in like pubs and places, like I think like, well, I don't want to be dragging really expensive
Yeah.
equipment down sometimes, because yeah, it can get rowdy, and a good way to ruin a nice piece of kit, really. But
Mm.
no, you should. I mean, my main guitar and the acoustic guitar I used on the album and I gig with is a Fender. I mean, I don't know what the model number is, but it's like a real budget. It's their most budget
Mm.
electroacoustic
Yeah.
guitar, but it has a Fishman pickup in it,
Nice.
and it just, yeah, it sounds great, like on most systems, and it's reliable. It's like I don't really want to be worrying about the tech
No.
when I'm getting up to gig and be with a band or whatever it is. I just want something to work and concentrate on the song.
Yeah. I remember I had an electric guitar when I was in a metal band, and it had a Floyd Rose on it, and it was great.
I hate Floyd
But the
Rose.
second you snap a
Yeah.
string, you're fucked.
Yeah, you might as well go home, because
Yeah.
unless you've got another guitar, someone can just run on and hand you one. Yeah, I had a budget guitar at one point. I think it was a vintage guitar. It had a Floyd Rose on it, and I'm sure people know, but they maybe if they play guitar, but these Floyd Roses are ones where you have to cut the ball off the string and use Allen keys and clip it in, and it's not as simple as like you just break a string and wrap a new one
Yeah.
around.
No,
So
it's a total day ruiner if you snap a string
it's
with a Floyd
and it
Rose.
puts the whole thing out of balance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you can't tune the guitar anymore. So
Mm. Yeah. But so with this on this record, and did you use that guitar on in the beginning? Because you've got a fucking great guitar tone on these records.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was all acoustic on the first album, and that was yeah, the Fender sort of acoustic I'm using, and then in the second for Wilderness Road, the electric was done with it's actually a Tanglewood Telecaster copy,
Mm.
but it has like kind of, it's a bit of a weird guitar. I picked it up from someone I used to gig with in pubs, and it's got like Fender parts in it. I think it's got a Fender pickup at the back, but it's a really good piece of heavy wood, and it plays really well. So we used it on that, and I put down a lot of the tone and things like that. I put down to working with Dan Cooper at
Mm.
Rodale Sound. He worked on both albums, and he's great to work with, because I was so naive when I did the first album. I thought, I've written 10, 11 songs. I'll record them, and that's my album. And
Mm.
even though I loved music and listened to so many things, I never really appreciated how difficult it is to make an album.
Yeah.
And what goes into it. And we did that first one in the beginning was done in 2 days, because that's all I had budgeted for. So what went on that album is literally everything we did. And then with this one, it was a bit more, okay, I know a bit more about the process now, and I was working with Dan again, and the musicians we work with, the people on the album are so great that they just did their stuff really quickly. So this one was 3 days.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, just got everything down, and yeah, worked with some really great people, but they're all friends of mine in the local area, actually, people that I play with. Dan played bass on it, Dan Cooper himself, and then my friend Johnny Boy, he played harmonica. He's on both albums. Tom Monks played keyboards on the album, and he's phenomenal. He plays with quite a few bands, including like Nine Below Zero and a few things. He's actually can play anything. He's one of these like really, you must have a friend like this
Yeah.
in your scene, where he can just play anything to a great standard. he once took the legend has it that he once took a saxophone to an open mic. I think it was the day George Michael died, just so he could play Careless Whisper. And he's turned up with it, and no one's ever seen him with one. They said, "Do you play saxophone?" He's like, "Oh no, not really, but I'm going to give it a go." He stood up and did this flawless performance of it, really good. And then yeah, they just said, and then he took it away with him. This was years ago, obviously, and he's never played it since. So
Just one
Tom
and done.
Monks, yeah, fantastic. And then we had my friend Beth Reed did all the backing vocals. She's on the first album as well. Amazing singer. And the drums was Jim Kimberly, and Jim's played with lots of bands as well. But I met him one of my few gigs outside of London. I played a couple of years ago at Great Eastern, sort of like near Leicestershire, and it was a friend of mine, Mark, put on a gig, and he put on Robert Vincent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did a full band show, and Jim was his drummer. And I just met him because I was doing the opening set, and it was while I was beginning to record the album, so it was really good timing. And I noted that Jim didn't have a Scouse accent like everybody else, so I thought he's probably not from the Northwest, so this is great. And yeah, he's from like Southeast London as well. He's like a few minutes away from me, so he's amazing.
Oh, awesome. And obviously, talking about kind of when you first started out solos, like Guns N' Roses and that stuff, what was it, or what was the kind of switch when you noticed like songwriters? And because one of the things I enjoy about your social media is you put up like what you're listening to, and you have a fucking great record collection.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you should tell my wife that, because she's not particularly impressed with me coming back with records every week. But yeah, glad you appreciate it.
Yeah. But what was like the kind of switch? When did you first notice like songwriters? Because it's weird with like rock and metal, Guns N' Roses and stuff. It's like, yeah, they're songs, but they're not, poet laureates. I
No,
love those
definitely
guys,
not.
but
No.
they aren't fucking,
No, because it's
Walt
the
Whitman.
music, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
riff. It's the kind of
Attitude.
knee-jerk reaction, and the attitude you get. And there are some bands that I'm sure you're the same. You listen back to now and you think, God, that's awful. Those lyrics are either
Oh,
not even just like maybe sexist or completely degrading, but they're like really just poorly written. But the guitar solo is killer.
yeah.
So
I'm a huge
that's
Kiss
key to
fan,
it.
but I was listening to
Oh.
like the Love Gun record yesterday, and I got to Christine 16. I had to turn it off. I was like, not in 2023. I can't do this.
No, exactly. And there's not as many bands that I would listen to now that I listened to back then, and still enjoy it. I think there were the things that made me notice. I kind of slowly crept into this kind of country and roots Americana world through a few different songwriters. I remember getting at one point I had a couple of Dave Matthews Band records, and I mean he's not somebody that I particularly listen to anymore, but when I was just devouring everything, I had a couple of records and or a couple of CDs, and one of the live albums has a cover of Long Black Veil, and I didn't know that song at all when I heard it. I was maybe 12, 13. This is the first time I've ever heard it. And I just remember hearing this. It was quite a faithful cover of it in terms of the story and everything, the lyrics. I just remember listening to that and thinking, that's incredible. Like, that's such a great story. And appreciating that song completely differently to how I appreciated anything else. There was just a few writers like that. There was a few songs that jumped out. And I particularly liked, and I still do, it's kind of a Marmite subject, but I like Delamitri. So they have, I think Justin Curry, who writes their lyrics, is just incredible. He really is an amazing lyricist for what is essentially a kind of pop folk band. They're not always the coolest, I guess, although I like it. But he wrote, that was an example where I was listening to the songs for the stories and the lyrics rather than, and that's probably then when I thought I want to write songs, because there was nothing that was particularly like kind of guitar wise, there was nothing I was listening to as going, I want to learn that. A lot of my friends were doing all the sweep picking and the all the real techie stuff, and that didn't interest me. I'm not disciplined enough to do that. So I just thought, no, I want to get something, like songs, with stories and stuff as good as that.
Because that's one of the things that like grabbed me from the beginning record. It did have that kind of early country vibe to it, in the songwriting and the stories, and like the King of the Jungle song was one of my favorites. I think that was the first one that I was really
Cool.
like, and that's the one I heard, and I was like, this fucking guy. And
That's
it's
kind of
just
like a list song, isn't it? With
yeah,
I tell people it's like We Didn't Start the Fire meets Noah's Ark, because it's just a list of different animals. I wrote that song. That was one of the last songs that I wrote before we recorded that in the beginning, and it was one that was written after my son was born, and it was
Mm,
the first one where I didn't have a guitar. I was holding him and I was trying to get him to sleep. And that's why it's almost like a kid's song.
no way.
Really, it's kind of like silly, lyrics about birds and bears and other
Mm,
kind of animals, and that was like kind of the idea. But then I thought,
mm.
oh, I'll try and put in references that are a bit more kind of like when you see a Pixar movie and there's
Yeah.
stuff in there for the adults. So that's kind of where it came from.
So King of the Jungle is the Pixar version of a country
It's
song.
I'd like to think so.
That's
Yeah.
fucking genius. Because that's what it grabbed me. Because it is like a list, like it's like a Tom T. Hall style, like
Yeah.
list country
Yeah. That's
song.
great. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love his stuff.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
that's so fucking cool. But with kind of that, I feel you took that kind of, because it was almost not raw, but it was a bit more stripped back, and it was, just you guys. You've taken that kind of approach, and this seems more of like a bigger, grander Americana record, which I know Americana is so loosely defined, but
Yeah.
this just feels like it's just taken it and expanded it into a way that a lot of people can access.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what that was definitely the intention, in trying to make another album like for Wilderness Road. It was like, well, I want to do it a full band. I wasn't really gigging full
Yeah.
band or doing anything there, but I thought if I'm gonna get these songs down, I want to try and make it a bigger sound. But it still
Mm.
has that approach. It was still kind of done the same way the first album was, putting down some acoustic guitar
Yeah.
first, and that's how the songs have started.
Mm.
And getting some lyrics down and some singing and stuff, and then just building it up. Because Dan's studio is fantastic. It's not really set up for like a live
Yeah.
sound. That's probably what we'll do with the next one. We're already talking about, if we do another one, we're going to try and find a space where we can
Nice.
really do that. Now that because we've done one gig together, minus the drums, and that was for the album launch
Mm.
at the Betsy Trotwood in London, and that
Which had
was
a great review. I
such
was
a good.
reading that on the Americana UK website.
Yeah, I was blown away by that, and Ken, the guy that wrote the review, was so great, and I mean, it's great if I suppose maybe you're the same. Like if you read something and somebody gets what you were trying to
Yeah.
do, or like you feel like the sort of things he referenced and were things that I would see as a total compliment and were stuff that I was listening to. He mentioned people like Jackson Brown in his review,
Mm.
and I was like, wow, well, yeah, that's a real compliment. So yeah, we want to do some more live shows together. There is a bootleg of the live show, and I got the tracks over yesterday. The guy who does the sound, Zhao, he was at the Betsy. He records it all and mixed it all, and
No,
I think
nice.
it sounds great. Yeah, he's done a really good job. It sounds like a really kind of polished bootleg. Really,
Mm.
it's got the kind of energy I think of us playing together. So I'm going to put that out on Bandcamp soon, and
Oh,
people can
awesome.
download it.
Cool. And with kind of, before I get into like Wilderness Road and some other stuff, with all your stuff's on Bandcamp, not as much on Spotify. I think is just Wilderness Road on Spotify.
Yeah, it is at the moment. That's not so much an artistic statement as me just being really lazy
Oh,
and
yeah. I
stupid.
couldn't tell if it was like a
Yeah,
political, like Taylor Swift stance or something.
like yeah, Neil Young. Like
Yeah.
I'm not putting my stuff on. To be honest, no. I mean, I I don't really, I don't personally have an account with like streaming
Mm.
sites. I don't personally listen to music that way. But I'm not gonna get up on my soapbox and tell people they shouldn't do that. I think it's absolutely fine. Really, I think it's like an amazing thing. The fact that you can have all this music. I think of growing up, how I had to consume different music and
Yeah.
find different people. If I wanted to know what Tom T. Hall sounded like, what did I do? I had to find someone that had a Tom T. Hall
Yeah.
album or a record and listen to it. Whereas now, I can type his name in on Spotify and he'll come up and there's all his
Yeah.
stuff and I can listen to any of it. And you've got YouTube as well and all these things. But there was none of that. So I think it's amazing that you've got access to all that. I mean, obviously there's the obvious arguments about how they pay people and whatever, but that's, you know, someone said to me the other day, a songwriter, that they ultimately are writing songs to be heard, you know,
Yeah.
and to get their stuff out there and to connect with people. And yeah, so I I will put it up on Spotify as soon as I pull my finger out, really. But yeah, it's definitely coming.
Yeah, because that is the thing, and I think that person who said like it is to be heard, and I know, you know, Spotify and the internet in general is a fucking cesspool. It's
Yeah.
there's no ethical way to be on the internet, but
No.
it is like if you want your music to be heard by a lot of people, I think, you know, it is one of those things. If you, I've said this many times, like I don't view Spotify as a income. It's
No.
purely like a paid advert. It's a promotional tool where someone can check me out and then come to a gig or buy a CD. It is literally just to have out there to be listenable and searchable. It's not something to, you know, plant my flag on.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a good way of linking all your stuff together and connecting it to other people as well. You know, you find your way into different playlists and
Yeah.
you know, and I have, you know, heard of people, thanks to, you know, people bring them up through streaming and stuff like that before. So it's a great way to discover new music, and as well as checking out things that you hear about. But yeah, I will definitely be putting it on there. I think the Bandcamp is just like the main place. I think in putting this album out, I haven't had much expectation, if I'm honest.
Mm.
I've kind of just, I didn't want to come back with this sort of huge promotional campaign and saying his first album in 6 years, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to like trying to bill it as a huge thing. I just thought, well, I'll put this out, and it's more a thank you to people that have stuck with me and listened to it and enjoyed it. And yeah, the reception's been great, and
Yeah.
there's been a lot of people picking it up. So I'll definitely put it on there.
Yeah. Well, with obviously having kind of 7 years, 2017 was in the beginning, 2023 is Wilderness Road. With that gap, did you find like people stuck with you? And I feel like, especially at our level, that is where the personal connections matter the most. Because it's like, if you were saying, like, you know, Adele disappeared for however fucking long, but she's like newspaper worthy, so people will immediately flock back. But here it is literally like you have to rely on those one-to-one connections to kind of keep that interest going. So when you do release an album after so long, people still kind of give a fuck and share it, and you can attract new people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's been people that I've you know, have supported me over many years and like enjoyed coming out to see me do shows, or been interested when I'm going to be releasing a few things. So yeah, I think I always love the personal element of it, and
Yeah.
like people that I'll go and see as well. You know, I'll be in a room, probably in an upstairs of a pub or a basement somewhere or whatever, and you know, you start to get to know the people
Yeah.
who go to those gigs. You know, there are a lot of people I know. You know, I might see them, they might come to my gig, but then equally I'll go to Mike and the Moon Pies and see probably a handful of people that,
Yeah.
you know, it's all a big community, isn't it? So yeah, it's great. I think I really appreciate that, and that's probably something I didn't um think about as much when I was starting, because like you say, we were talking about the kind of rock stuff I was listening to, and I thought, you know, my first shows that I went to see, actual gigs, were Iron Maiden, AC/DC,
Nice.
you know, people like that. Alice Cooper, of course, like, as I say. But I thought that every show was, you know, in a huge venue and had pyrotechnics and costume changes, and that's what a gig was, really.
Yeah.
But then when I went to a gig and saw somebody play in a proper setting, not just around someone's house, you know, playing a few songs, but actually playing on a stage, and entertaining a handful of people and telling stories and you know, making it a show, I was blown away.
Yeah.
It never really occurred to me that you should do that. And so yeah, you get to know your audience, definitely.
No, amazing. And with kind of going back to your record collection, what have you picked up anything new recently? How many records do you have, do you think?
Oh wow. It's a few hundred, yeah, probably. I wouldn't put a number on it. Maybe I'll we'll
Just in
do
case your
a
wife
poll
listens
on
back to
Twitter.
this.
Yeah, whatever it is, minus 30% at least. That will make sure things are cool. But oh man, yeah. I mean, I've picked it recently. Well, through the post, I got a new album. The Blue Highways have
Mm.
just brought out a new album. They're good friends of mine, and their new album just arrived on my doorstep. I pre-ordered that through Bandcamp, and it's amazing. I would highly encourage anybody to go out and check them out. I picked up a Loudon Wainwright record yesterday
Mm.
in a charity shop. He's kind of an interesting character. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I've listened to it once through. It's one of the very early ones. I think it's his second album.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm not sure. Although I did pick up a Nancy Griffith album yesterday as well.
Oh,
I think
sick.
it's a bit of a mishmash of things, really. I don't sort of. There are sometimes I just see things and you just I just think, oh great, I'll get a copy of that. But I don't have much of a wish list of
Mm.
things. I always like crate digging,
Yeah.
and seeing what I come up
Charity
with.
shops are a gold mine as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I was lucky enough. It's funny connecting to Alice Cooper actually because my father-in-law unfortunately passed away a few years
Mm.
back, and he had quite a few records, and he'd always said to me, James, when I die, I want you to have my records. And I was like, okay, that's quite morbid, but thank you. And but when he did die, he gave, he had these records anyway, and we were looking through the um, ones that he did have, and a lot of it was kind of unusual. But he had an Alice Cooper "Schools Out"
Mm.
record, right? And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I pulled it out, and it's got it's obviously a school desk is the front cover, and
Mm.
you can lift it up like an old American school desk. And I pulled the record out, and around the record was a pair of women's like underwear, basically. And I was like, this is what the. I was like, what do I do here? And but I was thinking, hang on, deep breath, what's going on? And I checked it out online, and apparently, when Alice Cooper released this album in the '70s, the original pressing,
Mm.
he did that as a promotional thing.
No way.
He put these, yeah, because it's sort of like, I don't know, it's in the shape of a pair of like underwear, but it's actually
Mm.
just some awful papery, tissuey thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did them on the original album, and my father-in-law, he had an original Alice
That's
Cooper
got to be
copy.
worth something to have that still intact
It's
as
well,
well.
yeah, you see people selling them for quite a bit if
No
they've
way.
got the pants. It always
Yeah.
says includes pants if you look on like the markets and stuff. But yeah, it was amazing, and he had that, and he had an original Black Sabbath album as well, the
No
the
way.
first album, yeah, and Masters of Reality. He'd picked them up in Germany somewhere, and but they're
Mm.
like first pressings, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow. So yeah, he had some great records, and they're
Yeah.
they're kind of treasured.
Yeah. Because that is like the thing. Obviously, like Spotify is great for finding new music, but I like my earliest memories are going through like my dad's collection, and it's a pretty great way to figure out someone by going through their record collection.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot actually, and I still did that the other day. I went around someone's house, and they had like a handful of records on their shelf, and immediately I like, all right, let's have a look and see what they've got. And yeah, it was a great way to sort of spy on what people were listening to, and if there was any new names, you think like, oh,
Yeah.
who's that? I've never heard of that. You pull it out and take a look, and it's good.
How do you organize your records? My fiddle player, and it blows my mind. He does it in heaviness order.
Yeah, I don't have the time. That's an amazing way to do it. Is there any particularly like is that how he chooses to listen to music as well? Like
I think so. Yeah. So it's
obviously go
like
like,
he'll
I'm gonna
have
go
like the
the
heaviest, like
heaviest
doom death
album. Yeah.
stuff, and then it'll go all the way to like nice folk and classical and stuff.
Well, that's a pretty good way to do it actually. If you just go immediately jump in. Mine is like alphabetical,
Yeah.
but not strict. Just kind of like all the A's in one bit, all the B's,
Yeah.
etc. And yeah, just to help me find stuff. But yeah, it's I mean, I should probably slow down with it. I did actually. Every now and then, I just have to go right. What am I not listening to? Because that's the other thing with records is that if I'm not really putting the record on, it's a
Yeah.
waste. It's like having
Yeah.
an instrument that you're not playing. So sometimes I've made the hard decision to just take something, give it to someone else, gift it, or
Yeah.
put it online or whatever, and get rid of it. So
With records, talking about like personality, if someone was to come into like your house and go through your record collection, what 5 records would they find that you think sum up like you as a person?
Me as a person. Oh wow, that's a good
Because you
question.
have like a lot of deep cuts. Like that's what I said before. I really enjoy because you have like Chris Christopherson. You have like sadly you have
Yeah,
like a varied choice going out on your socials. So
yeah. There's a few things. I mean, um, I picked up a copy of the band Northern Lights, Southern Cross,
mm,
and I love that album. I think that's like probably, even though the second album is like, and the first one are maybe more iconic, that album has so many great songs on it, like Ophelia
mm.
and things. So I'd probably, if somebody picked that up, I'd probably be that would be a good representation of my taste. Um, I don't know, like there's so many things in there. I'm trying to think. Maybe um I've even got I was listening, just I tend to flick between different things, and I was
Mm.
listening to like Lucinda Williams the other day, and I think she's amazing, and that, but I hope that almost like that people would, if they looked at my record collection, would maybe pick out like completely different things.
Mm.
But I mean, all of it, I don't have anything in there that I'm like, oh no, no, don't look at that. Like
Yeah.
that's just my guilty pleasure that I spin, like when no one else is around, kind of thing. There's everything in there. There's a couple of Lizzo records in there, and
Mm.
it's pretty varied. So there you go.
Yeah. Sick. Yeah, it's one of those things, and like I'm hoping when I like my kids able to fucking like flick through stuff, they'll find stuff. Is there anything that you're hoping your kids will discover from your record collection or start listening to? And you don't want to push them into it, but you hope they
No.
stumble on it.
Well, I mean, my thing really, I guess that my kind of my the place that I probably always go back to is that kind of it's turned out to be that kind of 70s almost West Coast type
Mm,
thing. And I guess that, I've got Jackson Brown albums that I love, actually, and Late for the Sky is like one of my favorite
mm,
albums, and I'll often spin that. And then people that have, been inspired by that kind of thing, because people like, I'm a big fan of Doors, and Taylor
mm,
Goldsmith and all these people. Um, that was one of the coolest gigs I'd ever seen, was seeing them play at the Borderline. This is when they just signed to Loose Music, and they did a gig where they were playing with Jonathan Wilson,
mm,
and they were his band as well. So they did like their opening set, and they played stuff off their album, their latest album at the time, and then they had him come up, and they were his backing band, and then Jackson Brown got up with them and
mm,
played music, and they played a few Jackson Brown songs, and Warren Zevon as well. I'm a
mm.
huge Warren Zevon fan, so there was a few of his things, and it was an incredible gig. So I'd hope that, yeah, if they liked any of that kind of stuff, that'd be great. But you know, it'd be funny to see what they like. I think both my kids have got an interest in music,
Mm.
but it's hard to tell what they'd actually
Yeah.
listen to apart from Baby Shark or things like that at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. And going back to Wilderness Road, with that songwriting process, what do you have kind of a songwriting process that you kind of stick to, or is it, as you're strumming around on some chords, lyrics come, or you have it? Like the King of the Jungle song started off almost as a lullaby. What is there a concrete writing process, or are you bouncing around?
It's funny. I was thinking that when some of the first songs, I guess some of the first songs I'd written are on In the Beginning. I'd
Mm,
only been writing maybe for 3-4 years or so before that was written. So some of
mm,
my earliest songs are on that record. And I think at that time I would just literally sit down and try to I would do it quite linear, really. I would
mm,
almost like, you would just kind of start almost at the beginning of the song and try and
yeah.
tell the story or get to the end of it. Whereas now, when I sit down, there isn't a set process, but it will start probably with a hook or a lyric, of some kind. There'll be,
Yeah.
and that will form the idea for the song. And then after that, once I've got just that initial seed, I guess I'm almost thinking about how melodies tend to come quicker than
Yeah.
words or anything for me. So then if I've got a good hook or a melodic hook or idea, then that's where it starts. And then I've just got to hope that I'm saying something sensible over the top of it. But then you kind of, sometimes it can come really quickly and other times it doesn't. I'm sure you find the same because you write a huge amount as well. And it's just, sometimes I don't know, the stars align and you just get so. I mean, Hillbilly the Kid on Wilderness Road.
I was going to ask about that because that's a fucking great song.
Oh well, thank you, because it is one of my favorites on the album. But also, it was one of those things where it was written in not much longer than it takes to play it. It really was like about 15 minutes or so, just done. And it just, I don't know, it was obviously not as quick as that, but it was more like I was gathering things subconsciously, because I don't know where it came from. I really don't. I just one of the lyrics fell out, and then the whole thing just poured out onto a page. And I've got the demo of it on my phone is me playing almost the complete song, and it's just been tightened up since then. And in terms of the melody and like getting things together, but the whole thing came out really quickly. Whereas some songs, just you spend too long on them almost. I just need something. I should just settle with the lyric and put it in there that not be too precious about it.
Yeah, and with Hillbilly, what was the line that kind of fell out? Do you remember the kind of catalyst at all?
I think it was the title. I think it was the title because I mean, country music's got really funny puns in it all the way through, isn't it? And there's always great things like that. And I don't know what. I think I misread something where someone had written Billy the Kid, and I read it as Hillbilly the Kid, and then I thought, oh, that's quite funny, like Hillbilly the Kid. And then I thought that's probably been said before, but when I googled it, I didn't find anything, and I was like, oh, I think I should write something around this. And it just struck me as, that song became about, I thought, what could it be about? And I thought Hillbilly the Kid, as well as being like a silly play on words, it's almost like the sort of rubbish tabloid headline that you would find in some awful paper where, again, not to get on my soapbox too much, but I always find it really, frustrating when you read stories in a newspaper, or even if you see things online or on the news itself, and there's no sense of humanity to how it's being portrayed. It's very, there's an argument that they want to get across, and so they're not thinking about how did this even happen? Or like what's the underlying cause of this? And it, in that song, I just wanted to tell a story about something that had happened, which, obviously it's not, somebody robbing a bank as they do in the song. It's not something that I would, romanticize necessarily or say that's a good thing. Everyone should go out and do that. But I thought, well, what would lead someone to do that? And how could I try and write a song where that character was in some way, people could have empathy, and try and think about what was their start in life, and what options were they given, and what, you're ultimately responsible for your own choices, and you have to live with that. But it just struck me as that for some people, they have more options, or they have better choices they can make. So
no, and that's the interesting thing, because I remember, because I'd heard the title track Wilderness Road, because you'd released that prior, and obviously I'd listened to it in the beginning, so I knew you have like a wit and a way with words. And when I saw the title Hillbilly the Kid, obviously the UK kind of country scene has elements and certain people that treat country music as a costume. And seeing that title, I was like, I wonder what he's gonna do with this, because it is quite like a kind of jokey title. And it could have been played in a way that, hammed it up in a way, but you dealt it with such like an integrity and honesty to it that I was really bowled over by like the honesty of the song and like the story of it. And you fucking stuck the landing so well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I really appreciate that. I was, pleased with it, and yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, I'd hope that, yeah, it would be. I can't really write. I don't think, me personally, I can't write a country music song. There are some people who write, and have a greater appreciation of that genre,
Mm.
and the people in it and the history of it, and could do something really authentic. But I can only really do something that feels natural to me,
Yeah.
I guess. And that's that name, and it fits in with that genre, I guess. But you hear that term, but then
Yeah.
it was more about trying to find a universal character,
Yeah.
because that character could. There's nothing to say really that character was, in America. I
Yeah.
don't think, if I
No.
think back on it, it could be something that you could relate to over here in the UK,
Mm.
or anywhere. So
Yeah, that was what I really enjoyed about it. It was like it didn't kind of ham up or play to an expectation of it, and it had like that grounded voice that was kind of your smooth as fuck UK voice. And it had that and it
can I
had that
use that from Road Country on the
yeah,
next album? Smooth as fuck.
smooth as fuck. Yeah, your voice is so fucking smooth, man. I really like
Thank
I
you.
am a fan of what you do, and it has that like honesty and weight to it in a way that, it's fucking really like respect to you for, bringing that sincerity and like weight to a thing that could have been a throwaway comedy song or a joke or pandered to a crowd that only really wanted to listen to fucking, that type of music.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, it would be totally insincere for me to sit here and say, sing a song about drinking Bud Lights and going out to a honky tonk and, get down a dirt road in my
Yeah.
pickup, because I don't have any of those things.
No.
That's not what I do on a Friday night. So I think, yeah, there's a difference between, you kind of, it's almost like appropriation, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
just it's not you, so you just need to like, do, I can only do what I can do. So
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like I always, like I say on stage, I have a song and I always say, we don't have highways in the UK, so I'm not going to sing about highways. I need to sing about things I know. And we have motorways here in Britain. So this is a song about the M53. And it always gets a
Brilliant.
laugh. But it's like, that's my experience. You can be a storyteller and you can draw from other cultures and countries. But if you're trying to be honest, it's like sing about a fucking motorway. Like,
Absolutely, yeah. Funnily enough, so one of the songs, I've not put it on an album yet, but there is on my Bandcamp. There's a couple of bootlegs of opening sets I did, and
mm,
there's a song called Valentine's Day, which I wrote for my wife. It was like a kind of funny sort of song about how we met.
mm,
Um, uh, the last verse of it talks about going for drives with her, and it mentions, yeah, it says, I remember those drives waiting in traffic with you by my side, the M25.
yeah.
It's like, why am I going to sing about Highway 61 or
Yeah.
Route 66? I've never been on those roads, so
No,
yeah.
no, exactly. And that's what I really respect about you and, artists like Michael Cateeth and Ags and folks like that who, sing about UK experiences while, bringing that genre and those styles to life. But obviously, we're kind of coming towards the end of our little talk now, but with, live music back, you've got, I think, Maverick Festival you're playing. I saw a post.
Yeah, I'm going to be playing at the Maverick Festival. That's sort of very end of June, beginning of July. I think it's Friday the 30th of June through to the 2nd of July. I'll be performing a couple of times, I think, throughout the festival. So I'm not sure which day specifically, but it'll be on there. And that will just be me, probably.
Mm.
But yeah, we're hoping to put another show on in London at least. At the Green Note
Oh,
in
cool.
Camden, potentially, yeah, or somewhere like that at least. Hopefully, the Green Note, and that might be around the sort of September, October time. So after the
Awesome.
summer, yeah. But I'll hopefully get a few more dates, and we'll let people know them on social media and things.
Yeah. Do you have anything lined up before the Maverick Festival? Do you have anything
There
in the
is,
next couple of?
I guess the next big one for me is playing a gig with the Blue Highways at in Great Eastern again. I'm going back to Great Eastern where I did the gig with Robert Vincent before. It's such an amazing venue, and there's tickets on sale for that now. But yeah, I mean, really, there's not a huge amount. So if anyone is looking for someone to gig with, then maybe they can get in touch via the Rogue Country podcast.
Yeah, well, put all your links and everything on.
Please, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, but cool, man. Well, congratulations on Wilderness Road. It's a fucking brilliant album, and thank you so much for making the time to talk to me today, man. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. This is the first, as people can probably tell, the first time I've ever had the opportunity to talk about the new album since it came out on a podcast or anything. So thank you.
Oh, well, you nailed it, man.
Yeah, pro. There we go.
And there we have it, folks. That's episode 66 of the Rogue Country podcast in the bag. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, if you enjoy the show, please don't forget to leave a review. They are a massive help in getting us up the algorithm, and we want to reach as many people as possible. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for sharing. Please go check out The Wilderness Road by James Hodder. It's great. Thanks so much to everyone who's been listening so far. The Mike and the Moon Pies episode's been doing well. We're nearly at 5,000 downloads overall, which is just fucking insane. And it's all down to you people who tune in. So thank you so much. Keep supporting the things you love. Keep doing the things you love. Peace.